Hello and welcome to a special day after Thanksgiving episode of the Morningscape podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to cover Friday's very exciting two slate day of games with 6 in the afternoon and 8 at night. DJ, how you doing? You looking forward to eating some turkey later on this Thanksgiving morning?
Um, unlike your family, we eat super late because we prioritize the drinking over the eating. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Fair.
I'm not hungover, which is always a good sign. My sister, we still haven't even heard from yet. So as you can so imagine it runs in the family. She was supposed to be at breakfast, did not answer us, still sleeping. So yeah, me and Matt were out last night seeing people from high school, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, the Morningscape podcast guys, they're here." It was pretty crazy.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, after all our autographs, we just, we went home. That's why I didn't get too drunk, because signing too many autographs.
Yeah, all the girls were just throwing themselves at us, that we had no chance with in high school. Wait, you guys have that podcast? And you have shirts now?
Whoa. Matt, there's shirts? Tell me more.
Oh, man. DJ, you might have heard about this, but DJ set up a connection with Just Dishing Hockey to get t-shirts. And as you are listening to this on Friday, we should be getting the final details on how to get it. So be sure to stay tuned to our Twitter account to get the actual confirmed link or wherever to go to get them, because that is something DJ and I will be doing on Friday afternoon, I believe. So
yes,
be sure to stay tuned.
We're meeting with those guys at about 2:00, which will be just in time for us to get that figured out, get some food, get ready for the slate, and go watch the Sabres on the road to 8 straight. So without further ado, why don't we dive right in? We don't have a ton of time because I know you have to hit the road. So let's do this. The 4:00 slate features Edmonton at Anaheim. As everyone expected, those teams suck. I know Matt hates Anaheim.
Hey, Anaheim is in a playoff spot. People are just shitting on Anaheim, and yeah, it's a terrible division, but they're gonna be in the playoffs. I don't know. It's just gonna happen.
I love making fun of Matt and Anaheim. It's the best. We have Winnipeg at Minnesota, 2 powerhouses. We have Montreal at, again, the 7 in a row. When you're listening to this, well, probably before they win their 8th in a row, Buffalo Sabres, the Islanders at the Devils, Detroit at Washington, and Calgary at Viva Las Vegas. So we look at this slate. I bet you heard all those teams and thought, well, there's Connor McDavid at the top, and there he is at 8,100. So we'll go to center, Matt. What do you think at the top?
Yeah, so I guess just a quick Vegas run through on the slate, just to get our feet set. Washington is by far the largest favorite on the slate at -220, so definitely something to keep an eye on there. And the only non-6 over/under games on this slate are Edmonton and Anaheim. And you said Calgary and Vegas Calgary and Vegas is also a 5.5. So just a quick Vegas grounding. But at center, you got McDavid and Eichel up here at the top, so it's kind of a fun little thought experiment between dating back to 2015, top of the draft. Who are you going to go with? And honestly, as good as Eichel is, it's really hard to not go McDavid. He came back with a new coach against the Sharks, and with McClellan gone, Hitch at the helm, McDavid put up a 3-point night to down the Sharks. So, it's a much easier matchup taking on the Ducks. I'll be honest and say that they're an awesome team to target from a DFS standpoint. And especially when you're as reliant on one line as Edmonton is. I think McDavid's clearly the top play here. Eichel's fine. I think Scheifele, Monahan, Domi, that's just super thin. So, what are your thoughts? Are you just locking in McDavid and moving on? Do you think you're starting your lineups at the lower end, the lower end of this upper tier?
No, I think McDavid is by far the best play. One thing I was wondering was if it was Hitchcock going to give him the minutes, and he gave him, 23.5?
Yeah,
so he's still getting all the minutes. He played with Draisaitl last game, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
That stack is not cheap at all. Draisaitl's price is way up to 7,500. So it'll be tough to get them both in, but they're probably the top point equity stack, although not per dollar maybe. So it's going to be tough for me to kind of try to figure that out. But the center position overall is pretty weird. So is there anyone else we want? It goes McDavid, Eichel, and Scheifele are kind of the top above 7K, and then it's Monahan, Domi, which is
insane.
I never thought would be this expensive. Backstrom,
Right.
Larkin, Getzlaff, and then Brock freaking Nelson is 5,900. If you would have
Yeah.
told me Brock Nelson was gonna sniff 6K, I would punch you in the face. What are you like? I would have been like, you need to shut up. Like, there's no way. Like, how is this possible?
I don't know, because he's not even playing with good players at this point. Now it remains to be
doesn't
seen.
make any sense.
Like whether because the Islanders got pasted at the Rangers. They lost 5-0. So Nelson was centering Kuhnhackl and Eberle. I don't know what the lines are going to look like come Friday. It's just definitely a thing where you're going to have to be around at 3:30 to, check in on these teams, make sure the lineups are as you expect them. But it does seem like Nelson is just in such a bad spot. Like, you're just not going to play him. One interesting note on this slate is Kuznetsov, I think, should remain out. So as we saw on Wednesday night, Backstrom centering Ovi and Wilson, they play together on the first power play. Backstrom's not a safe play by any means, but he certainly does have a lot of upside. So depending on what you want to do with your lineup, I think Backstrom is like the play from like this general range. Let's speed through things.
Yeah.
Eric Staal at 5K is just a ridiculous price tag. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I am playing him 100% of the time here, even in a tough matchup. So, I mean, do you like anyone else in this mid tier?
He dropped 1,300, and I know it's Winnipeg, but like, that's insane. Yeah, I think Matt Barzal, honestly, it might be the time to jump on him as well. He saw 22 minutes last game. His minutes are obviously way up, and they were down in that game. I was trying to come back, but he's been shooting, has many more shots on goal. That'd be the way to put that.
Yeah,
he's at a plethora of shots on goal compared to normal. So he's finally kind of shooting. They're probably like, "Hey, you want to shoot? You're pretty good at hockey." And he's like, "Maybe I should try that." So I think that'd be a decent time to jump on him. I'm not afraid to target the Devils at all. Their defense is okay. So those two guys really interest me. I think if you're playing McDavid, you can't get both of them. But I think, like either Staal or Barzal, those two are probably going to be guys that can help get you a little bit of savings. So that's where I'm looking for sure.
I mean, I even like down at the cheap end of center. Like, I'm honestly thinking about going like 2 centers at like 5K and below and just kind of starting my lineup that way, because there's a lot of names down here that I think are relatively intriguing. Danault got moved off the first power play, as we mentioned on the last show, but he's still seeing a ton of minutes, super cheap. That line's been really productive all year. Gallagher, Danault, and Tatar. So he's in play. But DJ, I texted you last night. Pavel Zacha is here, and he is here to stay. Like, we saw so much potential in him just in like our juniors outings that we went to. I think we went to see McDavid. And we were like, who is this guy on the other team? And it was Zacha. And he's, he came in and didn't really do much offensively. And he is really picking up steam now. He's got a goal in each of his last 3 games, 2 goals in the most recent game against Montreal. And even better, he's at 11 shots over those 3 games. So at 3,400, I am definitely buying in on like just his overall talent. And if he's getting 17 minutes a night on the second line, I think that's a great, just cheap play to get some exposure to a guy that I think is just way too talented to be like, not putting up numbers. And so it's nice to see that happening.
No, I 100% agree. I think he's definitely the cheap guy that you're gonna want if you are down in this range. We mentioned a lot of centers, so like all those guys are great. I really don't see any reason to get too crazy here. Like if you play McDavid and Zacha, like that's
crazier. Maybe not crazy, but Evan Rodriguez is still 2,500 playing on the first power play.
I was gonna say he was on the first power play last night.
Like that seems awesome too. So
yeah. I think Evan Rodriguez would be the pivot to get the best or the lowest ownership against, I'd say. Like if you play Evan Rodriguez, if you're not listening to this podcast, I can't imagine thinking he was a good play because because you could have seen.
I mean, if you're looking at the goals, like because he was in on 2 of them last game, he had a goal and an assist, 3 shots on goal. Yeah. But the thing about Erod that's awesome is that he's a solid rate shooter too. He's shown it productively. So
it's like Sabres stats Twitter, like any of those like guys like Ryan Stimson. Did I say it right? Stimson, yeah, he loves Erod. I like him as well. Minimum salary, I think. Like if you have a lineup you're in love with and you had 2,500, it would be an easy, and I feel good about saying Evan Rodriguez. Like I could actually Wow, center's actually lit. What's
Right,
going
that's
on
what I'm
here?
saying. It's like there's a
Hold
lot
on.
of ways to get value that don't involve playing McDavid. So obviously McDavid's, top
Yeah,
play on the board sort of thing, but like you don't need to play him. Like I think you are
yeah.
very comfortable going down into cheap centers. I don't really feel that way about Wing though. So as we transition, we have
Yeah.
Ovi here, Ovi's Ovechkin. We have Taylor Hall at home against the Islanders, who we just saw get railroaded by the Rangers. You have Draisaitl as like his shotgun mate for McDavid and Patrick Laine, who's finally jumped up in price after. I mean, he's just gotten red hot lately with 5 goals in his last 2 games. So, right at the top here, DJ, does one of these guys stand out to you? Because I assume we'll have some salary to play around with. So, who's your guy up here that you feel the best about in this spot?
I mean, I think Ovechkin's easily like he's the best. I think every time you ask that, like Ovechkin's probably going to be the first guy. But I think Line is just as good of a play. So I'm definitely down with both of them. I think you could fit both of them in your lineup too. After all that we just said, so I'm very much about those two. I mean Taylor Hall, like I wouldn't be mad. He's a decent pivot because I think everyone would try to get up to Ovechkin against Detroit over Taylor Hall. So all of them have slate breaking potential. I think I'm gonna find a way to get Ovechkin in. And honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, I might end up fading McDavid and going with some of those cheaper centers and just really loading up at wing. I really like that mentality tomorrow. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm like
yeah,
very much like putting in my mind together. The problem with this is if you do that, like how are you going to get the game stacks you want? But I don't think that you have to always think that way. Like if you don't have to find 3-man stacks that you can't win money.
right.
So don't get completely like put into that mindset. Just definitely think about, like Ovechkin's in a smash spot. You don't have to have Backstrom and Carlson with him. You could play him alone. Same with Line. You don't have to. So yeah, I'll let you talk now.
All right.
I made that.
So going a bit cheaper at wing, I mean, like you said, there's really not a bad play here if you can fit many of them in, like even if they're not correlated. I promise you, if you get 2 goals from each of your wing positions, you are in a position to, take down a GPP no matter what. So if you feel strongly about, 3 of these guys, you can play all of them and not feel bad about it. But the question I think everyone tuned into this podcast to hear on this Friday morning, Thursday night, if you listen to it then on your drive around, are you playing Jonathan Marchessault or Blake Coleman at the upper 5K mark? Blake Coleman is 5,600 on DraftKings.com.
I
Blake
need to.
Coleman.
I'm going back to bed. I'm gonna try again next year. What in the world?
I don't
What
know.
in the what
I
the
don't know.
what? How is the but what? No, 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 no. Why?
No, there's no good reason.
Stop it,
No good
DraftKings,
reason.
you sons of guns.
Yep.
Oh my god.
So
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Happy to see you at 6,400.
He is quite good at the hockeys.
Remember when
But
people were like, "Are they going to let him go? Are they just going to like?" Remember that whole
yeah,
thing?
yeah,
I think they did the right call. They made the right call there.
they did. They did.
I don't think I'm going to play FNCU tomorrow at that
No.
egregious of a price, but but yeah, Marcus. So honestly, that's a pretty good spot. He's still pretty good at hockey.
Yeah, no, he is. He's still shooting the puck a good amount. So, the minutes are still there for him. I'm not that concerned with his, relatively poor play as of late. I am a bit more concerned by the Flames looking like world beaters their last few games. I don't know how sticky that is, but they've put up 13 goals in their past 2 games against pretty good teams. And, with this being the rematch against the Golden Knights from the 7-2 laydown they put on Monday night now it was, like, that game was just out of hand pretty early. So, I mean, we'll see if Calgary keeps this going because then they just rolled through Winnipeg the next night. But, it's certainly 5,900 is not a bad spot for Marchessault. I don't know if I'm, like, moving things around to play him over trying to find the salary for, like, this Ovechkin, Laine sort of tier. But that is a really good play in the mid tier, I will say myself. So anyone else in like this 5K mark that you are looking at as we try to cover 2 slates in one podcast, so we try to keep things moving?
Yeah. No, I know. I think Raquel. Maybe I honestly don't hate Tom Wilson. Can you hear my mom yelling in the background?
You're good.
Is that super loud? Okay. I don't hate them. What is Anaheim been doing with Silverberg? Because he'd be interesting to me if they're giving him the minutes. I was trying to find their power play. Was he?
Yeah, they're using a first power play with Aberg on it still, or Aberg? God,
Come on, guys.
I even heard on the broadcast like how to say his name, and it was like he changed it, and it was I forget which one it was now. So shame on me. But yeah, they're using Silverberg on the second power play
Yeah.
with Kasha, Kessler, Richie, and Mahura, and
Who the heck is
somehow
Pereira?
we'll talk about him. But I mean, he's a cheap punt D man who, because
Yeah.
everyone else is hurt, he's playing power play time. So, and he's playing with Montour 5-on-5. But Kasha is
Yeah.
on the first line with Getzlaff, Raquel. I don't really know how I feel about Silverberg because that price is okay, but I would like to see him on the first power play before I jump at it.
Yeah, it's
Just
fair.
because,
I feel like the price and his shooting upside is there,
yeah,
but yeah, that's fair.
like every time
Kasha
I'm going to
might.
choose Kasha here over like
Yeah,
Silverberg,
that's
and you
fair.
can stack him with Raquel a bit easier. So
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm okay with that. I just wanted to bring it up because I thought that price was a bit weird, but Kasha's just as good, if
right,
not better, to play.
yep.
All right, let's move. Do you think Pacioretty, way down here, is also in play? He's got 18 minutes last night, 4,400.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean
hate
he's
that plan.
like, I mean, who could have seen it coming? Like, who anywhere in the hockey industry could have seen Max Pacioretty putting up 4 goals in his last 3 games after shooting 1% for like the first 20 games of the season? Well, I guess 15 for him because of the injury, but like he was literally shooting 1% and then comes back
Mhm.
out and he's now has 4 goals in his last 3 games despite only having 6 shots on goal. He's been putting up shots in the past, so I don't see that as a reason to not play Pacioretty.
All right, but is he better than Blake Coleman?
Man, that's these are the tough questions that we have
These are
to
the
answer
questions we have
one
to
game
ask
by
ourselves.
game.
So, like, I think you try to get that extra 1,200 to get the Blake Coleman here. I am. Okay, so another interesting price point that I just don't understand is Nikolai. Is it Nikolaj Ehlers? Do you pronounce the J?
Nikolai, Nikolai,
It's
yeah,
Nikolai, right? I don't know.
yep.
I said the J in my mouth. He is 3,800
Oh my god.
now. Not on the first power play, but with Shifley and Wheeler, and he did get
Oh my god. What
pretty
happened?
comparable minutes, and like he does shoot, and he is extremely fast. Not that that matters for DraftKings, but like,
He is extremely good at the hockey.
I'm just confused by the price point. I mean,
I
is he
will
better
be
than Blake Coleman?
interested. I will be interested to see what happens with the Winnipeg Lions because of the beatdown they took at the hands of Calgary last night. But I mean, if Allers sticks on that first line with Wheeler and Shifley, I mean, that's obviously like an awesome spot. So,
Yeah. Well, I
holy
know because it
crap.
does look like there was at least a little bit of time where Shifley was with Line A and Connor, but
Yeah,
he
I mean,
doesn't
even that,
really
that's
matter.
fine too.
Like,
I'm worried that they're
yeah,
going to keep the line A line as it was because he's been like pretty good. Line A has,
yeah.
but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Ellers is rock solid at 3,800. Jeez.
Yeah. There's some punts on this slate that you
Oh
can take
yeah,
advantage of.
100%.
So yeah, we really got to keep it moving. I feel like
We're not
you
too
were
bad on time, but
not too bad. Okay, I thought you were. So yeah, is there any super cheap wingers that
yeah.
you're feeling a little?
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned there's a ton of value on this slate, but just a few more names that I think are, at least worthy of consideration, if not like as good of values as we've mentioned, just a bit more expensive. Marcus Johansson at 3,100. If you're playing Pavel Zacha, I mean, that's a good correlation stack at 5-on-5. And Johansson's been on the first power play for the Devils. So if you're playing Taylor Hall, that's another, just super cheap correlation play. We know Johansson's a good player because of his, time in Washington, where he earned his job on the first power play for, I mean, that power play,
Yeah, I
which
know that's
is
true.
like crazy to think about. Played 18 minutes last game, put up 2 assists. I mean, just a really great price. And I think this is a really good spot to go back to that well. And then Sam Bennett, uh, in the past 2 games, has been playing with Backlund and Kachuk at 5-on-5 at only 3K. He's had 2 goals and 1 assist in that time frame. So just a couple names to keep in mind. I don't think they're must plays by any means, but there's obviously a ton of options as we've mentioned. So if you don't have anyone else, let's move over to the defense.
Yeah, I'm good enough. Let's just get over that. D. Anyone at the top?
Yeah, I mean, at the top, I think it's going to be easy to play just about anyone here. So I'm finding it hard not to find the money for Carlson, just because there is so much value. I think that Washington should just kill Detroit.
Are you sure
So
about that though? Because Detroit, no, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever. Um, so Carlson at the top just feels like an easy play. What's really nice about Washington with no Kuznetsov, Oshie is also doubtful to play as well, if not confirmed out. But the nice thing about them now is that you know where the offense is coming from. Like they're playing Ovechkin 23 minutes a night. They're going to play Carlson, just as much as they always have been. But like your correlations there are very, very like solid. You're not worrying about too many things when it comes to Washington, and so I'm getting as much exposure to this team as I can. Before Kuznetsov comes back, that kind of thing. So I like Carlson at the top. Do you have a different thought? Like Petrie,
No.
Dumba, they've been awesome.
Yeah, I was on Petrie when I talked about that Montreal stack, which I did end up playing, which I don't think did anything too crazy. But Petrie did. He had 33 and a half minutes against Washington.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's yeah. I
gotta get that more some oxygen on the bench. Boy.
I grabbed that guy in both of my dynasty leagues, and I'm looking to I'm really feeling good about that as late as I got him because he's awesome.
That's strange. All right. You can trade him to me if you want. Yeah, I think the biggest thing on this slate is like how many defensemen have the DL next to their name. Like, look at that top. So, no, there's no one really. I think those two are fine. I mean, Giordano is fine, but I'm not really targeting Calgary too heavily, I don't believe.
Yep.
So, down the list, I think Montour is just still very much in play. He led them in minutes. Not 5-on-5, but he gets a ton of power play time. So I think he's a really nice play. Edmonton's still Edmonton. Like, don't get crazy. Like, they're still Edmonton. They just have a different coach.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like imagine when they took McDavid, thinking like a few years from now, this team is still gonna be a dumpster fire, and they are. Like, I remember like they took McDavid. I'm like, all right, Edmonton's gonna be so good for so long, and they're still a train wreck.
Yeah, you could see it in McDavid's eyes. He saw it coming, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not going to say the Sabres won because they got Eichel, because I've seen people like, well, he's a winner. I'm like, no, just shut up. Like, it doesn't work that way. But like, it feels pretty good right now to just sit on the top of the throne. Anyways, though, is there anyone in this range of the Montour range, we'll call it, that you're interested in?
It's the Montour range for a reason. He's the top play. Yeah. He's awesome. He's so involved. He does everything for this Anaheim team. So as long as Lindholm and Fowler are both out, he's going to be a lock and load type play. So long as his salary's not up among, like, honestly, I think he's a 5,500 player at defense. So I think he's an awesome play. Given he's only 4.6. Colin Miller still on the first power play for the Golden Knights. So 4,300, that's a fine play as well if you just want to play them both. But other than that, I really don't have much interest in like the Montour range. Our boy Dowie's been shooting a bit more, so I like that.
Yeah, he makes me feel funny in my nether regions.
Yeah, he is like, you talk about involved offensively. Like, this guy will try anything.
He is getting there. I mean, like, there's times where like the Sabres are on a rush and you see Dolly just flying towards the net. It's just like, oh, Dolly, you're a defenseman. I like I like your style, buddy. Like, it's pretty fun. Yeah, I gotta go take a shower after watching that guy play. Boy,
yeah,
it feels weird to say about an 18-year-old.
First time I saw him live.
That was live.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean,
it's awesome.
I the first time he's seeing. Well, no, we saw him at the World Juniors, but.
Oh, right. But for the Sabres, yes.
For the Sabres, all right, that's fair. Well, we should keep moving.
Yep.
Why don't we just get right to punts? I mean, like, if you have a stack and there's a guy, do whatever you want, but.
Yeah, let's see what happens to Pilot for the Sabres. He could draw in. He's like, if he played the full season in the AHL, Lawrence Pilot from the Sabres, he would set the AHL record for points in a season.
Like, he was on pace like 95 points in the AHL. And like, I saw him play in Rogers here a couple of times, and it's not fair. Like, you can't have that guy out there. It's not nice.
Yeah. So if he does, join the lineup, he's 2.5. He's probably not going to get power play time, but he certainly could. So that's fine. But the punt that I think is just the safest is this Josh Mahura guy. You asked me who he was. Yeah. I honestly don't know much about him, but he's been playing just about 20 minutes in the 2 games he's played, and he's paired with Montour, along with picking up the power play 2 job. So He's had 6 shots on goal and 6 block shots in those 2 games, so just seems like a pretty solid way to punt for 2.8, given the minutes should be there for him. So I think that's all. Let's do a couple top stacks and then move to the night slate. What do you say?
Yeah, one player I didn't mention that I should have mentioned was Charles Hudon. I remember thinking I was going to. He did play with the no on the power play, so like they split the power plays pretty evenly last game, and he's minimum salary Hudon, who I like
Yep.
Hudon. He was in the fourth line, however, which is not good, but it looks like they
Yeah.
made a couple, like they changed the lines a lot during the game, and he saw 5-on-5 time with Lehkonen and Dano. So
Okay.
like if
Interesting.
that ends up becoming a line at minimum salary and getting power play time, like the Sabres, we love them, but like they can give up goals.
Yep.
Like they're this PDO Bender is gonna die. So I forgot to mention that. I did see that, and I was like, I gotta remember that, but I
Yep.
never went down that low in the salary. So
They are coming off of a tough loss, so you
yeah,
certainly could see that on Friday afternoon.
I
Given like
I
the way
wouldn't
the
be
game's going.
surprised to see Hudon on the top line. I wouldn't be surprised to see him scratched. Like that's really, I have no freaking idea. Like
Yep.
he played decent. Whatever. Let's get to the stack. Like I'll just do one each.
Yeah,
Because
let's just do one each. Well, let's just both say Washington because I mean,
yeah, that was yeah.
like
Okay,
they're going to be super
you got it.
popular. You're not fooling anyone
Yeah.
by playing them, but it's really easy to get them, honestly. So
All right, I'll say something a little off the wall. I honestly, you know what? I'm gonna say anyways. I think if you're really trying to punt in one of your stacks, I think that Johansson Zaka is pretty interesting to me.
yeah, definitely.
If they stay 5-on-5, just play those two, and then even play Taylor Hall if you really like to just kind of go all in on the Devils a bit. That's gonna be really low owned, and like that's a ton of savings.
Yeah,
So,
Hall
but then again, you're really
definitely.
eating up all three winger position. No, two winger, whatever.
Oh, that's fine because Hall floats around the lineup too, so you're not locked into like that first line of correlation like you are from I don't know, picture like the Avalanche or something. Like that's probably.
Yeah.
But so for my stack, just given the prices, I really like this first line for Minnesota of Eric Stahl, Michael Granlund, and Jason Zucker. Like they are all just very priced down. Eric Stahl at 5,000 is just ridiculous. Jason Zucker at 5,300 is like top 15 in shot rate in the NHL. And, Granlund's more of a distributor and he's 5.6. So I think he's a bit less of like a must play. But I mean, if that line goes off, he showed last game, he had 3 assists. Like, that's just what Granlund does. He's a really good player. I just think they're too cheap. I'm not that concerned with the matchup. There could be some fireworks on this slate. So I think getting some cheap like stacks like that could let you really take down a GPP should like Washington go off even. So, all right, let's move to the afternoon slate or the night slate unless you have anything else to say.
No, we gotta get to it. We're in the football.
True. All right, so let's just run through the 8 games quick. We've got Toronto at Columbus, Pittsburgh at Boston, Chicago at Tampa, Florida at Carolina, Colorado at Arizona, Nashville at St. Louis. Nice little home and home there around the Thanksgiving holiday. And Ottawa at Dallas, Vancouver at San Jose. So, 8 games there. Nothing really stands out to me from the Vegas perspective. So before I get to you, DJ, Tampa's a -190 favorite. Dallas is a -215 favorite, and San Jose is a -250 favorite. Everyone else is basically between -130 and pick'em. So 3 pretty heavy favorites on the slate, and then a lot of even matchups. So interestingly, Nashville's not like a significant favorite either over the St. Louis team. So what are your thoughts? Like, just first glance, is there one spot that you think could be a blow-up game? Anything like that?
I don't know if there's anything that is just out of the have to play. There's a lot of good individual plays, but there's not one game I'm just all over. Is there one that you're all over?
This Pittsburgh Boston game should be a lot of fun. I think Pittsburgh with Crosby is like a lot just different of a team. Chicago Tampa is also a game that I'm like very excited to I don't know if I'll be able to sit down and watch it, but given that we'll be driving home from the Sabres game, but definitely looking forward to that that matchup there just because Chicago loves to push the tempo and Tampa, I think the last time they played put up 8 on them. So Um, those two spots I think stand out to me the most.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Boston's lines are a mess.
They are,
Yeah.
but it
So
gives
yeah,
us
why
some
don't we just
value. All right.
yeah, let's just look at the slate. Top of the list, we have the McKinnon, Sagan, Tavares uh region. I guess we could maybe include Crosby and Pavelski and Malkin in there. And then obviously Bergeron won't play. Neither will Matthews. So who do you like there? Are you sticking with this Pittsburgh side?
Yeah, I mean, Crosby's awesome. You can stack him with a guy like Hornqvist, or even double stack him with Malkin. I just think they're both too cheap at this point. Like we know what they can do, and without Bergeron, this Boston team just has a different feel to it. So, um, like I mean, even Hornqvist is still priced way down. So I think that Crosby is like the top play here. But if you're looking for like a one-off play, I mean, Sagan had probably the worst game of the year. Well, Dallas did as a whole, um, against the Penguins on Wednesday. So interestingly, it's also the Julius Honka missed it because he was sick. So, maybe a little bit of correlation there, but probably not. Let's be honest. But Sagan is, I think, just he stands out to me as like the top center play. But that might be a hot take considering McKinnon's right here,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that guy
I,
is ridiculous.
I think any time that I get a general feeling that that top line for Colorado might not be too heavily owned, I try to just jam it in. And
That's fair.
honestly,
That's
I
fair.
feel like people might overlook it tomorrow, so I'm very much about it. Um, just because I mean it's an 8 game slate, and I know it's Arizona, but they've actually been pretty good, and McKinnon's really expensive, so people might just pivot away from him. So I really like it a lot, just to jam in that line and then figure it out after. So I'm about it, but let's move down the list a little bit because, like I mentioned, we're missing football. Is there anyone kind of sub Stamkos region that you're all in on? I mean, could it be Stamkos?
I don't think I'm all in on Stamkos. I really like him, 6,700. I think it does make a lot of sense on this slate. You can find values to fit Crosby and Stamkos together, like in cash. But I think like a bit cheaper, a guy like Taze actually does stand out to me on the other end of that matchup. Like I think that he's just a little bit too cheap for the minutes he plays and the offensive role he has. So and Pierre-Luc Dubois at 5,600, I think is another really nice play. What are your thoughts on like this mid-tier to upper-tier center?
I mean, yeah, no, I'm okay with it. There's really no one that completely stands out and is like a smash kind of play. I could foresee me trying to get some sharks involved. I don't know where I'd go with there yet. Couture and Pavelski are pretty expensive, but
Mm-hmm.
I like targeting against Vancouver, who also is in the playoffs right now, which is mind blowing. So Trocheck obviously is out. If you didn't see that injury, then
Yeah.
don't watch it because it's not good and it hurt my feelings. Um, so what do you think that changes up for Florida? Like, I'm trying to kind
Yeah,
of get a
so it
look because they
didn't.
did play since then. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
I,
didn't
I have it
change
now.
their lines all that much. Basically, it just like they didn't spread out Dadonov, Barkov, and Hoffman. So it's definitely more of a top-heavy team than it was before. So that might put these like Carolina depth guys a bit more in play. Um, so I don't know if that
Yeah,
means like Aho should see that like second line, given that Jordan Stahl will likely match up with the Barkov line.
Barkov.
So
Yeah,
that could be an interesting spot.
yeah. I could definitely be down with in Carolina.
Yeah, I think I'm more interested in the value for Carolina more so than the expensive Aho and so on. The expensive Aho, just
I'll let you
Aho.
have it.
Yeah, it's
I'll let
fun.
you have it.
I like
Yeah, you're.
I like I like his name. All right.
Was it a sexual innuendo? Oh, I gotta know. Was that where you're
No,
going with there?
like no, he's an a-hole. Like he's an
Oh,
a-ho. Yeah. Like
see,
but
that's he's an expensive one. That's why I was like, what are we talking about here? What are you buying?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just going a little loopy here.
Yeah, let's keep moving
So
because these are your
unfortunately,
reasonable ones.
the spot, I guess if we want to just talk about some cheap centers real quick, the spot that I was concerned most with for a guy like Lucas Walmark, who's centering Svechnikov at 5-on-5, is that despite his awesome shot floor as of late, Victor Rask returned to the lineup against Toronto. And my fear is that he would take the power play 2 job from Walmark, given that Rask kind of lived there when he was in the lineup. We didn't get to see last game the second power play go because they scored on the one opportunity they had. The first unit did. So, um, but I do like a mini stack of Svechnikov and Walmark, especially for cheap. Just given Svechnikov's on the first power play for this team, the minutes were there even in this like pretty tightly contested game against Toronto last time out. That kind of got blown out at the end by empty netters, but I think Walmart and Svechnikov make a lot of sense cheap here. Did I miss any centers that you want to talk about, or just kind of zooming through?
Um, no, I'm pretty. Yeah, we got to keep moving because I know you got to leave. I just can't believe Carl Soderberg's price at 5,100. Like, what's going on? What? Get out of here, DraftKings. You're drunk. Yeah, let's just keep moving. There's really no one that I think is like unbelievable.
Yeah, if you're dumpster diving, you need a guy. Kamenev for Colorado is 2,500, and he played 14 minutes last game. Might have been the fact that they were just blowing out the Kings, but he did put up a goal and an assist on 2 shots. He's on like that second power play, so there's worse ways to spend all that money, I think. But all right, let's go to wing.
Okay. Top of the list. Oh, I just clicked on the wrong button. Radulov. Wow. Radulov, Pastrnak, Kane, Kucherov, and Rantanen. I already mentioned I'm probably gonna have some Colorado one, so Rantanen will be included in that. Is there anyone at the top here that you think is a must play?
Yeah, I mean the stat I saw on Twitter was that I think it's the Senators are on pace in over an 82 game season to allow 40 more goals than the next closest team in NHL history, or maybe like post lockout history. But like they're giving up so many goals that like I think Radulov is firmly in play here. Like this full top line is just sick. And so I think even if they had a tough game, they go back home, they get like a plum draw in Ottawa. Like I think they're ripe for the picking. So I'm definitely fine with playing Radulov and Sagan. I prefer them over McKinnon and Rantanen or McKinnon Landeskog personally. But I think in cash games, if you're looking for like one-off plays, I think Kane and Kucherov are your two guys here. So do you prefer one of those two, or do you prefer another guy in this upper range?
No, I think those are the right guys. I think you said the right stuff there. I don't have any quarrels with it.
And we always say there's not too much of change by way of correlations. Like we know Atkinson's line, we know the Colorado line, etc. Tampa did separate Stamkos and Kucherov for their last game, so that keep that in mind. But they still correlate on the power play, so I actually kind of like playing them, just together, even when they're not 5-on-5, because that lowers ownership on them. But there's really not much by way of changes in the correlations up here, and there's not a bad play. Like I'll be honest, like there's not a bad play up probably until you get down to 6,000, and then it kind of starts to get a little dicey. But even then, like there's still all fine plays. So just know your correlations, I think, is more important than anything else. So
all right, one guy that a little like this is kind of way down the list a bit, but Evander Kane was on the power play with Brent Burns. Last game against Edmonton. So I don't know like how hard I'm going to try to jam both of them in because honestly, Brent Burns only saw 19 minutes, which is weird. But I'm very, very interested in getting in on this Evander Kane action. His shot rate is just phenomenal, and I really want some Sharks exposure, and he might be the right guy to go with. It's a really hot start to the season, and it could be that time to jump on him and ride him back to the promised land.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I think that's a good. Honestly, I like Burns too. I think I can explain the low minutes, and that's because Vlasic is glued to McDavid's hip when they play the Sharks. So that that leaves Carlson and Burns to kind of split the other 37 minutes of ice time, and it's tough. So I don't really have much hesitation going right back to a guy like Burns, and so that correlation you mentioned with Evander Kane, who has a sick shot rate, he's a good play here in this matchup against a Vancouver team that should fall back to earth and already has, honestly, pretty quickly. So
yeah, no, I'm down for that.
All right, Tarasenko, 6K, ridiculous. Yeah. Like you can play him, he's fine. I don't think he's a great play given the matchup, but like if you're looking for low owned, if you're looking for GPP winning upside, like that's your guy. Like 6K, that's a ridiculous price tag. Somehow Panarin's been like riding shotgun to this Dubois Atkinson blow up the past 2 games. I don't know if that'll stick. I mean, Atkinson uh, like has a slightly better shot rate, like looking historically, than Panarin, but Atkinson's been insane lately, taking 12 shots in the past 2 games with 4 goals and 2 assists. Panarin only has 4 assists on, I think, 2 shots. Like he's been 3 shots in the past 2 games, so his price has fallen even as that line is taken off. Given the matchup, yada yada, he's also in play for GPPs. So I think we'll sort some of that out when we get to our stacks at the end. But just wanted to note that because I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with playing Panarin, given his price this low, even as like a one-off play.
No, I agree with that. So a little bit cheaper though. Patrick Hornqvist, I think we've mentioned every single podcast.
He's the guy here. Yeah,
he's with Crosby and Gensel. He was on the first power play. I mean, it feels real obvious. I mean, surprisingly, and this is only surprising if you don't look at kind of the game script, Austin Reese led them in minutes, total minutes for forwards, but that's just because they got up on Dallas so early and they kind of got some other guys some minutes. But I mean, I think this will be a bit more competitive of a game, and Hornqvist could be a beneficiary. I think he has slate breaking potential at this price with Crosby. So
honestly, he should be priced right up with this 6K tier of Panarin, Tarasenko, Dadonov, etc.
I totally agree. So I think he's a lock in cash. And he's obviously I prefer him over Gensel, although Gensel under 5K still also feels really cheap.
Because of that power play time. Yeah, he loses the first power play with Crosby back, so the gain he gets at 5-on-5 is taken away by that, in my opinion. So
that's very fair. I mean, Hornqvist is preferred, but Gensel is not insane.
Yeah, so I think Hornqvist is pretty clearly the play at this range. Keep an eye on DeBrusk. If he's playing in a spot in the lineup where he can correlate at 5-on-5 with like Pastrnak or Marchand, he's fine. Given he's on the first power play as well, but I'm not that interested in him. And JT Miller is another, he's on the first power play. He plays with one of either Stamkos or Kucherov, if not both, at 5-on-5. So he's a pretty cheap way to get correlation there as well, but not really one-off plays in my estimation. So I've mentioned Svechnikov at 4K. He's another really, really great play, I think. First power play, his minutes have been steadily rising. Happily, so hopefully the 15 sort of sticks and the 16 sort of stick, and not these 11s he was seeing earlier in the season. And I think they will personally. So I really like him, and I'm going to close it out with a hot take at Wang that I mentioned on the Twitch stream yesterday. Which, holy crap, we haven't mentioned yet, but. What are your thoughts? Low end of Wang? Is there anyone who stands out to you?
I mean, DeBrusk is getting an increased role. Just I don't know if you mentioned him. Kind of zoned out for a second.
Yep,
you did. Okay, so I like him. Just say your hot take. We'll keep it moving. I know you got to leave.
All right. It's David Backes, and David Backes at 2.6 is an awesome daily fantasy play. Yes, that David Backes who has 1 point in 16 games on the season. Yes, that David Backes who plays on the fourth line for the Boston Bruins and gets paid, I think, $6 million to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in the Patrice Bergeron role on the power play, and he is 2,600 on DraftKings. I mean, I don't know if you can ask for a better spot than that, honestly. So when you look at Backes historically, he's been a very solid contributor, shots on goal wise, through his entire career. Per minute, his shot rate is fine, bordering on good / almost excellent, depending on what time frame year you look at. And so while he's gotten a bit older, he's not as good as he once was. He's still a better player than $2,600, and he's on the first power play. So he makes a ton of sense to me. And I don't necessarily think I need a cheap punt. I think if this were the early slate, I definitely wouldn't need it, given all the value we uncovered already. But he just makes a ton of sense to me, just from he allows you to do so much else with the rest of your lineup. So I really like David Backes for cheap, and put me on the record as saying that when he, plays 10 minutes, doesn't do anything, and Pasternak scores a hat trick on the power play without Backes contributing. But I honestly think that I will end up playing Backes because I really like his profile. Just stripping away the name.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Anyone else you want to mention? I'm sure there's probably a couple punts that I'm just not seeing, but they're probably here.
Yeah, I mean, there's
sub 3K. My God.
Yeah, no, there's just not really anything outside of like a complete dart throw. So, like I think we're good to move to defense quickly.
Yeah, quickly. You probably got to go. Yeah, place in San Jose, guys. Honestly, yep. I don't mind either or. Where is Carlson? What is he priced
56.
56.
5,600. Yep.
That's pretty. I mean, yeah, it's actually pretty cheap. What are your thoughts on Seth Jones as well? I like him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's. I don't know. I don't really know what's happened to like the offense there because it's not like he's not been in good situations to like contribute with Panarin. Well, not necessarily Panarin as you mentioned, but with Atkinson and Dubois like completely smashing and breaking slates like left and right lately. He's not really been in on any of that. So, I think he's okay. I do have some concerns with what the power play is going to look like just because Torts has had over a week since we last saw that power play in action. And when we did, we actually saw Jones with Atkinson and Dubois, but not Panarin. So, like, just weird stuff going on. But the minutes are still there for him. I just don't know that I'm paying 5,800 for him when there's like, I love defense on just about every slate, but there's a lot of good plays on this slate outside of, Jones, who hasn't necessarily been producing.
Yeah, I could get on board with Dougie Hamilton at 4.7. If you're feeling that, I could get on board with. No, that's probably in this range. I like him the most.
Yeah, I think Carlson, as you mentioned, and Victor Hedman at 54. I mean, I think Hedman's a little bit better of a player than Seth Jones is, but Seth Jones like has a bit more of the daily fantasy floor. But I mean, Hedman just gets you such rock solid exposure to like this power play that's insane. And obviously at 5-on-5 with Stamkos and Kucherov spread out, it's a nice correlation there too because he's almost always going to be on the ice with one of those two guys. So I really like Hedman. I think he's like the best cash play, especially if you're not playing Burns or Carlson, like from the San Jose side of things. So,
okay.
All right. PK Subban should be out. He's probably borderline like unlikely to play. I would say it's closer to that than like he's probable. But he's pretty close to returning, so that takes guys like Ekholm, even Ellis to some extent, like out of consideration, just given when he does return, given the minutes should shift back, flowing through him a bit more. But until it does, Ryan Ellis at 4,400 is always a safe cash play. Definitely ran hot yesterday by getting a shorthanded empty net goal from Ellis. But even before that, he was on pace to put up, I think, 2.5 fantasy points just based on his floor numbers alone. So, like, it's fine for 4,400, even in a relatively blah matchup.
Yeah, that's true, man. Good points. Down the list, I mean, there's a couple guys like Chutrin and Hokajaru. Are either of them kind of maybe eventually coming back to? I mean, there's a time where Hokajaru was like 6K, and I know Chutrin had a very good stretch before he got hurt. So you think either of those guys could be candidates to really bounce back? I mean, when Chutrin's been in, which has been like 2 games, he's looked pretty good from a blocks plus shots perspective and minutes and all that stuff. So do you think it's time to maybe jump on board?
Yeah, I mean, I like him definitely more than I like Jokiharju. Unfortunately, Jokiharju's not on the first power play. It's actually Keith and Seabrook. So, I mean, Chicago just is really not like they're struggling even with this new coach. So I don't really know what to make of that, but definitely not appealing to me from a daily fantasy setting. But yeah, Jokiharju is probably out of consideration. Chychrun is very like he's very good. He's gonna do things from a daily fantasy setting, and it remains to be seen how much of an offensive role he'll play as far as upside goes, but as far as floor goes, he's great for this price.
All right, let's just do our stacks, guaranteed goals. We went way longer than we wanted to, so unless there's anyone else you want to mention.
I don't think so. I mean, we honestly didn't go that bad for two
Really?
slates. Actually, I should mention Bayreuther for Dallas was playing on the first power play last game. So it went from Heiskanen to Lindell after Lindell had a 2-goal performance against the, I think it was the Islanders on Sunday. He had 2 goals. He played there the next game on Monday. And then last game, it was actually Bayreuther on the first power play. He's only 3,300, and obviously Dallas is in a great spot. So if you're looking to make like a bit of a dice roll there, he's played 20 minutes in each of the last 3 games and should see that yet again with a power play role of some sort. So unfortunately, Honka just seems to have been phased out of this, this Dallas attack, and I don't really know why, but even assuming Honka's well enough to play after he got sick with the flu or something on Wednesday, but yeah, Bayreuther is cheap and he's fine, I think. So, all right, let's do a couple of stacks and get out of here.
Yeah, I already mentioned Colorado 1. I'm going to have it. It's not a hidden secret anymore. I just feel like on this slate, it's going to get overlooked, and they can break every slate. So I'm going to definitely try to jam them in some capacity.
Nice. I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh first line, Crosby, Hornqvist. I think they're just both too cheap. And if you need a third guy, I think you can go with Letang, you can go with Malkin, you can go with Gensel. I don't really feel strongly one way or the other, but I think those are the 3 obvious candidates for just explosion sort of stacking. But explosion stacking brought to you by the Morning Skate Podcast.
Yeah, that's a very explosive stack. Yeah, no, I don't know who I'm going to take for another one.
All right, do you want to just guarantee some goals rather than do like a bunch of stacks?
Yeah, that's true. Let's guarantee some goals. I'm taking Evander Kane for sure. So
nice. Okay.
5,800. He's yeah.
I'm gonna go with.
Last time I got both. Yeah, I'm sorry, I completely cut you off. You said Tarasenko.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say last time I got both of my guaranteed stacks. Well, I don't like to brag, but that's my guaranteed stacks. I meant goals.
Yeah, I went total airball on that. What, you had Connor Laine as your top stack? You had goals up the wazoo.
I know. I wrote in the chat was like, DJ, you're killing it, and I was like, man, only I barely cashed because of Connor Laine. I just tweaked. I didn't think I was going to. I went to bed early because I was like, this sucks, and then Connor Laine went off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oof, there it is. There's the money. So I have E. Kane and you have Senko.
Yep.
Okay. So I have 5,200.
Yes.
So 5,200. That would be exactly Hornqvist.
Nice.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I take him all the time though. I've taken him. No, if I ever taken him, you took him last, I think. Yeah, I know, because I took Gensel. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I took Gensel.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever take him, actually.
All right, I'm going to stay a little bit cheaper than the 5K I have allotted to me. I'm going to go with Andrei Svechnikov at 4K. I think he's an awesome play, given his power play 1 role, given the 5-on-5 role that seems to be ever growing for him, and given this matchup with the depth of Florida, which obviously took a huge hit from losing Trocheck. They just got railroaded by the Lightning, so maybe that raises ownership a little bit, but I think it's also a key indicator that maybe Florida's in for a rough stretch until they figure out that second line center situation.
All right, so that will do for the podcast. I don't think we guarantee goals for the first slate, but sorry.
Nope. Yeah,
we'll guarantee them in the chat. So yeah, if you want to get in the group me, you still can. I feel like some people think it gets closed when we don't mention it. You can always join it, so just join it. Just all you got to do is message me on any social media platform, even Instagram. I'll answer. Although the only messages I normally get on Instagram are from people that are like, "Hey, follow me and watch my live porn videos," and I'm like, "No, this is a hockey podcast. What do you think this is?
Get maybe some other time.
Miss me with that." So I might miss those because I got when we started it. I think all of them are like, "Ooh, a new person on Instagram. Let me send them all this stuff." Try to, I don't know. Anyways, though, so. Yeah, that was a long-winded way of saying you can still get in the group me.
Yeah, so a couple of other things. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, as you mentioned. If you're in the group me, I posted a link to our twitch.tv stream channel, and I posted a quick video yesterday just as like a Wednesday like afternoon like thoughts. I think it was like 20 minutes of me just going through the slate. Um, I figured out how to get all that going, so big thanks to Doug for like setting that up for me. And big thanks to, I think we only got like 15 people who watched it, but I wasn't trying to advertise it because I honestly didn't know if it would be good. I didn't know if the quality of it would be like, sound quality. If, anything like that were to go wrong, I didn't want it to be like, oh, I'm never coming back to that. But make sure you subscribe because we'll have more of that coming in the near future, especially when we get like the sim going. Just, so we have some like things to reference on the show rather than just me clicking through DraftKings game logs because I know that's not all that interesting to present. But that's another thing that we're going to do. So be sure to give us a follow on twitch.tv. We're at One Escape Pod, just like we are on Twitter. So
Everything.
that's
Yeah.
a pretty cool thing we have coming. And obviously, stay tuned for the shirts because
Yes.
we'll have that ready to go very soon, just in time for Black Friday. So
Yeah. Check out. Just go to the website justichin.com. They just released all of their winter line. It's fantastic. I'm buying stuff tomorrow for sure. They have like long sleeve shirts that are nice, which we're gonna add to that collection. They also have some really nice hats, like winter hats. The joggers look sick. It's all very reasonably priced. The guys that do this are great. They're a couple kids our age, kind of trying to do like run their own, thing. So definitely people you'd want to support. So just don't be afraid. Don't think like you can't buy more than just our shirt. Like you can buy more stuff.
yeah,
Um,
and it's good
so
for outside of like there's other stuff than just Sabres apparel too. So be sure to like poke
yeah,
through the
no, they have
website because there's a lot of cool stuff.
poke through it. Just poke through it. So that's all we're asking. I'm not gonna say you have to buy their stuff, but if you see something you like just know that these guys are, a couple people just like us trying to do their thing, and they're great, and they make really good high quality stuff that I buy all of. So
All right,
go do
so
it.
hopefully you all had a great Thanksgiving. To you Canadian folks, ha. And enjoy your mega slates, 2 slates of hockey on Friday, thanks to us Americans. So, yeah, better just be appreciative. So, from Doug, from DJ, and from myself, thank you for listening. Have a good slate, everybody, and we will see you.